Beverly Hills 90210 was the show that defined a generation, but the real-life stories of the cast have become more dramatic than any script they ever filmed. Two beloved stars are no longer with us. One is facing shocking financial struggles despite her father's massive fortune, and another just revealed feelings they've been hiding for 3 decades. This is the complete update on the cast of Beverly Hills 90210 in 2026, and what's happened to them is absolutely fascinating.
Abracadabra!
Nat Bussichio wasn't one of the teens, but he was the soul of the show for all 10 seasons. Joe E. TATA played the kind-hearted owner of the Peach Pit Diner, where the gang spent basically every free moment they had. And honestly, the show wouldn't have been the same without him. Nat was the father figure who listened to everyone's problems without judgment and served up the best burgers in Beverly Hills while doing it. After the show wrapped, TATA kept working steadily in TV and film until he retired. But behind the scenes, he was dealing with something incredibly difficult. He'd been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, and his daughter Kelly set up a fundraiser to help cover his care expenses because the costs were overwhelming. Joe E. TATA passed away in August of 2022 at 85 years old, and his former castmates Ian ZIERING and Jennie Garth paid beautiful tributes to him, calling him a mentor and a genuine friend. The Peach Pit may have been fictional, but the love they all had for the man who ran it was absolutely real.
Dylan, do you want a piece of pie?
Dylan McKay wasn't just a character. He was the bad boy who defined what it meant to be a heartthrob in the 90s. The leather jacket, the motorcycle, the brooding intensity, all of it came from Luke Perry's incredible charisma. He made Dylan McKay into one of the most iconic characters in television history. After the show, Luke Perry never stopped working. He appeared in movies, did guest spots on dozens of shows, and eventually landed a major role on Riverdale, playing Archie's father, Fred Andrews. That role brought him back into the spotlight because a whole new generation got to see what made him so special. But then in March of 2019, tragedy struck. Luke Perry passed away suddenly at just 52 years old, and the news absolutely devastated everyone who knew him. He left behind 2 children, Jack and Sophie, and his Riverdale family was heartbroken. What most people don't know is that Luke Perry had set up his estate planning brilliantly. He created a trust that protected his kids' inheritance and made sure everything transferred to them privately without any legal battles. His son Jack has become a professional wrestler with AEW, carrying on the Perry name in his own way.
I was with my parents this morning watching Brandon on TV.
Brenda Walsh was the heart of 90210 for the first 4 seasons. Brandon's twin sister, the girl who moved from Minnesota to California and suddenly had to navigate this whole new world. Shannen Doherty brought so much fire and vulnerability to Brenda that you couldn't help but root for her. After leaving the show, Shannen had major roles on Charmed and appeared in cult classics like Heathers and Mallrats. But starting back when she was diagnosed with a serious health condition, Shannen began one of the toughest battles anyone could face. She fought with incredible strength for nearly a decade, going through treatments while still working and living her life as fully as possible. Even during her hardest days, she kept acting, showing up on Riverdale to honor Luke Perry after he passed, filming projects like Fortress, and hosting her podcast, Let's Be Clear, where she talked honestly with her old castmates about their lives together. Those conversations gave fans a chance to see the real friendships behind the show. In July of 2024, we lost Shannen Doherty at 53 years old, and the outpouring of love from her castmates showed just how much she meant to all of them. Shannen's podcast is still charting at the top of memoir categories right now because her voice and her honesty continue to resonate with people everywhere.
I just started college. I don't feel like I have a lot of choice.
Andrea Zuckerman was the smartest person at West Beverly High, the editor of the school newspaper who always asked the tough questions and never backed down from a challenge. GABRIELLE played Andrea with so much intelligence and determination that you knew she was going places. After leaving 90210 to do her own talk show, which unfortunately only lasted 1 season, she kept working steadily in TV, movies, and voiceover work for video games and animated series. But here's where the story gets really interesting. CARTERIS ended up using all that intelligence and determination to become one of the most powerful people in the entertainment industry, not as an actress, but as a labor leader. She served as president of SAG-AFTRA from 2016 to 2021, fighting for actors' rights and fair pay. And now, in 2026, she's president of the International Federation of Actors, which represents performers in countries all over the world. She's literally negotiating with major studios right now about AI protections to make sure actors don't get replaced by computers, and that makes her arguably more influential than anyone else from the original cast. While her former co-stars are taking roles and doing projects, GABRIELLE is shaping the entire future of how actors work.
Hey, Friday night.
What do you say, you and me?
Sorry, I already have a date.
Steve Sanders was the rich kid, the guy who had everything handed to him but eventually grew into someone you actually liked. Ian Ziering played Steve for all 10 seasons and became a huge part of what made the show work. But after show ended, his career kind of stalled out and it looked like he might fade away completely. Then came Sharknado. If you haven't seen Sharknado, picture this: a tornado full of man-eating sharks destroying Los Angeles and Ian Ziering with a chainsaw fighting them off. It sounds absolutely ridiculous because it is, but somehow it became this massive cultural phenomenon with 6 movies, and kids all over the world started carrying Sharknado lunchboxes with Ian's face on them. In 2026, Ian's still riding that wave because the Asylum just announced they're making Sharknado Origins, a prequel about teenage Finn Shepard. So the franchise is coming back, but Ian didn't stop there. He's also competing on the French version of Dancing with the Stars right now, leveraging the fact that 90210 was absolutely huge in France. On top of that, Ian runs his own skincare line, and he's a regular on the convention circuit doing paid meet and greets. The man turned nostalgia into a full business empire.
I'm making you mic check it. Yo, I want to...
David Silver was the nerdy kid who wanted desperately to be cool, who became a DJ and somehow ended up dating Donna Martin and being part of the core group. Brian Austin Green played David for all 10 seasons, from age 17 to 27, so he basically grew up on that show. But what most people don't know is that Brian spent years struggling with serious health issues that completely changed his life. For over 4 years, he dealt with symptoms that felt overwhelming. He couldn't walk properly, couldn't speak clearly, and lost a significant amount of weight. Eventually, doctors diagnosed him with ulcerative colitis and severe vertigo, and he had to completely overhaul his diet, cutting out gluten and dairy just to function normally. Brian's been incredibly open about this struggle on his podcast Oldish, which he co-hosts with Randy Spelling, Tori's brother, and he's using his platform to help other men who are dealing with autoimmune issues. Career-wise, Brian's doing something hilariously unexpected. He's starring in an Australian action comedy called Zombie Plane, where celebrities fight the undead. The cast includes Chuck Norris and Vanilla Ice playing secret agents, which sounds completely insane but is exactly the kind of self-aware camp that works. Now here's where Brian's story connects to something even more interesting: his relationship history with 2 of his castmates, which we'll get into next. Now here's the part that really shocked everyone, because Brian and Tiffani weren't the only complicated relationship story involving Brian Austin Green. His on-screen romance with Tori Spelling as Donna and David was one of the most beloved couples on 90210, and it turns out there was way more happening behind the scenes than anyone knew. In August of last year, Tori appeared on Brian's podcast Oldish and made a confession that absolutely stunned the internet. She called him her first love, said they have a soul connection, admitted that after the show ended, they didn't speak for nearly 20 years.
We're going to always be together. We're even going to all go on vacations together. Say, I add it all. We're even going to go on vacations together. Mm-hmm. And that was the last time we spoke for 18 years.
And it felt like going through a divorce even though they were never married. Then she went even further. She talked about having deeper feelings for Brian that went way beyond just playing Donna and David. When you watch those old episodes now, knowing what Tori said, it hits differently because you realize there was real emotion underneath all those scenes. The cast of the show spent 10 years together during the most formative period of their lives. They were teenagers becoming adults, falling in and out of love for real, while playing characters doing the same thing on screen. Tori's willingness to finally say this stuff out loud 3 decades later shows that some feelings don't just disappear, they just get buried.
The time you joined 90210, you were already dating Brian Austin Green.
Yes.
Before we talk about what Tiffani's doing now, we need to talk about what happened between her and Brian, because this is one of those stories that shows just how deep the bonds ran on the show. Brian and Tiffani dated during the show's peak years, from the early to mid-90s, when they were both at the height of their fame. They were considered the couple of 90210, with intense fan interest in their relationship, both on screen and off. But things didn't end well, and after they broke up, they didn't speak for 30 years. Then, in November of last year, they reunited for the first time in 3 decades at a Sandals resort event, and something remarkable happened. Brian publicly apologized. He admitted that during their relationship, he'd been really jealous of Tiffani's success on the show.
Tiffani came on the show. I'd never been in a real serious relationship before. I was
incredibly jealous every time.
Jealous of her bigger storylines and the attention she was getting. He said he handled things immaturely and that he'd inflicted real pain on someone who only ever wanted him to be happy and healthy. It took Brian 3 decades to finally take accountability for how he acted back then, and Tiffani graciously accepted his apology. The fact that they could come together after all that time and have that honest conversation shows that the 90210 cast really was a family, even when things got messy. Now, while Tori opened up about her emotional life, her financial life has become a completely different kind of drama.
So it is the OG crew back together, and we're playing heightened versions of ourselves.
Donna Martin was Kelly Taylor's best friend, the sweet character who started out a bit naive, but grew into someone confident and successful by the time the show ended. Tori Spelling played Donna for all 10 seasons, and she became a fan favorite because of how genuine and relatable she made the character feel. But here's the part that makes absolutely no sense. Tori is the daughter of Aaron Spelling, the legendary TV producer who literally created Beverly Hills 90210. When he passed away, his estate was valued at over $600 million. The Spelling mansion in Beverly Hills sold for $85 million. This was one of the biggest entertainment fortunes in history. Tori inherited $800,000, less than 1%. Now in 2026, Tori's facing serious financial struggles that have been making headlines for years. She owes over $1.7 million in back taxes, and her monthly income swings wildly depending on whether she lands a podcast sponsor, a reality TV gig, or a brand deal. She's dealt with housing instability that most people wouldn't believe given who her father was. To survive, Tori launched the Miss Spelling podcast, where she talks about her life with brutal honesty, monetizing her personal struggles in a way that's fascinating to watch. There's also been speculation about some dramatic physical changes people have noticed, and fans have definitely been talking about it online. The relationship with her mother, Candy Spelling, remains complicated, and Tori's publicly said she doesn't even know if she'll inherit anything when her mom eventually passes. While Tori's struggling financially despite her family connections, another cast member walked away from Hollywood entirely and built something completely different.
I was in shock because we all knew that Shannen was fighting for a long time.
Kelly Taylor was the emotional center of the show, the girl caught between Brandon and Dylan in one of TV's greatest love triangles, the friend everyone confided in, the character who felt the most real. Jennie Garth played Kelly for all 10 seasons and made Kelly into one of the most beloved characters in television history. But here's the thing about Jennie in 2026. She's not chasing acting roles anymore. She made a deliberate choice to step away from traditional Hollywood and build something entirely different for herself. She launched a podcast called I Choose Me that became a massive hit because it features refreshingly honest conversations about women's lives, self-care, and mental health. The podcast's success led to a book deal, and she is getting ready to release her highly anticipated book, I Choose Me, this coming April, which she narrates herself on the audiobook. Beyond that, she's built an entire wellness brand called Me that's designed specifically to help women prioritize themselves without guilt. What makes Jennie's story so powerful is that she's been honest about her regrets. She's talked openly about emotionally regretting the custody arrangement she agreed to after her divorce because she wishes she'd fought harder for more time with her 3 daughters. Jennie could have spent the last decade doing 90210 reunion tours, but instead she chose to build a legacy based on helping women feel seen and supported. While Jennie built a wellness empire, another cast member made a transformation that took her completely behind the camera.
It's so much a part of the character,
Clare Arnold joined the show in season 4 as the sophisticated new girl who got romantically involved with Brandon Walsh, and KATHLEEN Robertson played her with this perfect mix of confidence and complexity that made Clare impossible to ignore. She stayed on the show through season 7, becoming a central part of the later seasons. But here's what's fascinating about KATHLEEN Robertson in 2026. She's not acting anymore, at least not as her primary focus. She's become a writer, producer, showrunner, and one of the most powerful behind-the-scenes players in Hollywood. She created Swimming with Sharks, this critically acclaimed series where she served as the writer, producer, and showrunner for the entire project. The show starred Diane Kruger and Kiernan Shipka, and it examined the dark underbelly of Hollywood power dynamics in ways that felt uncomfortably real. KATHLEEN runs her own production company called Debut Content, and she's got projects in development with Netflix, Paramount Pictures, Fox Searchlight, and Amazon. She's adapting major novels into screenplays, working with Academy Award-winning producers and directors, and building an empire that has nothing to do with being in front of the camera. KATHLEEN went from being Clare Arnold to being someone who could greenlight the next 90210 if she wanted to. And that's the kind of transformation that deserves serious respect. While Kathleen took control behind the camera, another cast member became one of the most successful food personalities in America. Valerie Malone joined the show in season 5 as this provocative character who stirred up drama the moment she arrived. And Tiffani, who was already famous from Saved by the Bell, brought serious edge to the role. Valerie was manipulative, complex, and completely different from Kelly Kapowski, which proved Tiffany's range as an actress. But what Tiffany's done since the show is honestly one of the most successful career pivots anyone from the cast has pulled off. She completely left teen drama behind and became a culinary authority with her own cooking show, Dinner at Tiffany's on the Cooking Channel, where she hosted celebrity friends for intimate dinners while cooking elaborate meals. That show ran for 3 seasons and led to 2 published cookbooks. Pull up a chair and here we go again. Recipes and inspiration to level up your leftovers, both of which have been incredibly successful. She's appeared on The Today Show, Good Morning America, and Rachel Ray promoting her food expertise. Right now in 2026, Tiffani hosts Deliciousness on MTV, which is basically ridiculousness but for food content, and the show's been renewed for multiple 30-episode seasons because it's doing so well. She's married to actor Brady Smith, has 2 kids, and seems genuinely happy focusing on food, family, and projects that bring her joy rather than chasing the next big acting role. While Tiffani built a culinary empire, the final cast member took his career in the most unexpected direction possible. Brandon Walsh was the moral center of the show, the good guy, the newspaper editor, the one who always tried to do the right thing, even when it was hard. Jason Priestley played Brandon for 9 seasons before leaving near the end, and he was the heart of the show for so many fans. But here's why Jason Priestley deserves special recognition. He didn't just stop acting after the show. He became a director, a producer, and a creator, building a career that's given him way more control and longevity than acting ever could have. He starred in and executive produced the Canadian crime drama Private Eyes for 5 seasons, and he directed multiple episodes throughout the show's run. In 2026, Jason's starring in and producing Private Eyes West Coast, a spin-off series that he'll continue directing and shaping creatively. Beyond that, he's directed films that premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival, including a documentary about the band that helped launch their international career. Jason Priestley figured out something that most actors never do. Being in front of the camera is great, but being behind it gives you power. He controls his own projects now, decides which stories get told, and doesn't have to wait for someone else to give him permission to work. He's been married to Naomi Loud since 2005, has 2 kids, and seems genuinely content with the life he's built. The cast of Beverly Hills 90210 has done just about everything you could imagine since the show ended over 25 years ago. They've faced heartbreaking losses with Luke Perry and Shannen Doherty, dealt with financial struggles that make no sense given their fame, and made confessions about feelings they buried for 3 decades. Some walked away from Hollywood entirely and built wellness empires. Others leaned into the nostalgia and turned it into thriving businesses. And a few grabbed power behind the camera where they could control their own destinies. The show that defined the 90s launched careers that are still evolving right now, proving that what you do after your moment in the spotlight matters way more than the spotlight itself. If these stories shocked you, hit subscribe for more celebrity updates and drop a comment telling me which cast member's journey surprised you most.